I think this is my most worn Thursday boot, company boot. If you follow my Instagram, you're definitely sick of me posting story after story of these boots walking around the reservoir in Central Park every day and all over Massachusetts and also Tennessee. And I could actually fill this whole video with my collected Instagram stories of these boots, but I won't. These Thursday hero boots though, they have this coveted leather called waxed flesh, and that demands a lot of wear. While the wax adds water resistance, waxed flesh is a real boot nerd leather because the more you wear it, the more the wax wears away and the better the boots look. So man, oh man, do I have literal hundreds of miles in over a year of wearing the Hero from Thursday Boot Company. This is what they looked like when I first got them. And in fact, I've had them so long they were called the Titan when I received them, but they had to change their name because Timberland has a Titan boot and I understand they got a little litigious about it. Anyway, what is the Hero boot and how does it fit into Thursday's lineup and your lifestyle and your wardrobe? Let's take a look at what many are calling the grown-up Doc Marten. All right, to those not familiar, Thursday Boot Company was founded almost 10 years ago with this goal of radically reducing the price of Goodyear welted boots. In videos about Thursday, I try not to assume the viewer has a ton of knowledge about boots because they appeal to a lot of first-time boot buyers. So a Goodyear welt, it's like kind of the gold standard for boot construction. It makes boots very water resistant and very easy to resole. And before Thursday came along, it was very hard to find such a boot for under 300 bucks. And yet through a very boring mastery of supply chain logistics, they created a company selling them for under 200 bucks. Thursday also came to prominence by popularizing the dress work boot hybrid look. Basically taking what people love about cool work boots and refining the shape in a way that makes them easier to wear with like tapered jeans or trousers or just more modern wardrobes and just generally making a more versatile, city-friendly and affordable boot. I guess I'm specifically talking about the Captain, their flagship boot, but the angle of making boots that are more refined than bulky work boots is present on Thursday's mock toes, at Chelsea's and most of their offerings. Although I guess Chelsea's are usually sleek, but anyway, you get what I'm talking about. And then the Hero boot came out. It's much less sleek and less tapered than their Captains. I mean, this isn't said anywhere on their official marketing material, but I feel like this is their answer to folks who want a rounder, chunkier, more traditional looking boot, which is to say it's less streamlined and harder to dress up than the Captain, and it has much more of an outdoorsy, casual, pseudo-combat boot look than the typical Thursday boot. The elephant in the room is the Doc Martens boot, the 1460, and I actually did a video comparing the brands when these boots were new up here. But with all eyelets and no speed hooks, the 6.5 inch height, a giant 1.5 inches of height from a very luggy sole and the pull tab on the back. Yeah, the Hero it's less chunky than a Doc Martens, like the low profile toe still has a lot of Thursday DNA in it. But I see why people make the comparison, and the Hero is inarguably the closest thing to a Doc Marten in Thursday's lineup. Right now, anyway. For men, anyway. They have some women's ones. So yeah, the Hero, it doesn't come in anything like these really glossy, thin leathers that Doc Martens are known for. And two of them are waterproof nubuck, which Thursday uses very rarely on their boots. Nubuck is when the leather has been sanded a little to reveal nappy protein fibers that some people mistake for suede, even though it's not split and it's generally considered harder wearing than suede. The most popular nubuck boot, I think in the world, is definitely the Timberland Premium waterproof boot, and I've also seen some guys online show the black Hero alongside a black Timberland, and if you wanted to, you could say they're pretty similar looking. And the more I think of it, the more the Hero is like half Doc Martens and half Timberland, so it's sort of like a mashup of the two most popular and iconic boots of all time, or at least most popular and iconic boots of the 1990s, even though this is less bulbous and better made than either of them. And when the Cacao Hero came out, I thought, all right, I definitely need to get this leather and see how hard I can wear it. Like I said earlier, when boot guys see waxed flesh on a product page, they immediately see it as a challenge. And not to be all, woe is me, my job is really hard, but eventually I had to wave the white flag here. My plan was to wear it so much that all the wax went away and the rough out leather got all fuzzy. I've worn these boots so much, and I have so many other boots I have to do videos on. So the wax hasn't totally worn away all that much, but you can definitely see it's acquired some nice character from all the wear that I've given it. I can't believe I just like condensed easily 100 hours of wearing these into just 1 minute of talking about the leather, but that's what it was all leading toward, I guess. I didn't even get all that fuzzy, but yeah, they definitely look better. Let's talk about the construction. So under the leather, a big deal here is that this is made with a storm welt, which is also called a Goodyear storm welt. So this is a more water-resistant version of the already very water-resistant Goodyear welt, in which the welt is extra wide. Okay, so let's just a step back, the welt is a strip of leather between the upper and the sole that you attach both of them to, right? So the upper and the sole aren't attached to each other, and this makes it easier to resole. With a storm welt, the welt is extra wide, so it comes out from under the upper and bends up onto the upper, creating something of a seal between the upper and the midsole. And very few Thursday boots are made with storm welts. Does that mean that you can stand all day in a pond fishing? No. Is it very good for walking through puddles? Yes. Except that the tongue is not gusseted, which is a bit of a bummer because that does reduce the water resistance a bit. But I have sloshed through a whole lot of puddles in these and my socks have stayed pretty dry. But it is true that I couldn't go through really deep puddles like this because the tongue is not gusseted, right? Still, very water resistant, more water resistant than most of Thursday's boots, and that storm welt definitely enhances that whole element of it being an extra outdoorsy, extra casual sort of boot from Thursday. The insole is 3mm of pour-on, and under that is a steel shank sitting on a cork filling on a 2mm thick vegetable tanned leather midsole. If you are new to boots, and with Thursday videos, again, I try to keep in mind that a lot of customers don't know everything about welts and cork and stuff. Welted boots typically have cork filling under the insole for a variety of reasons, like managing moisture, and they conform to the shape of your foot to make them feel more custom made to your foot over time. And also the cork is kind of like an old-timey way of helping to absorb shock. But not only does this boot have 3mm of pour-on foam for the insole, there's also 2mm of EVA cushion foam in the footbed, and both of these are excellent at absorbing shock. So this is another thing that Thursday is known for. Like, instead of having 2 or 3 or 4 layers of stiff vegetable tan leather in the construction, they borrowed some shoe tech from the sneaker world and added in these shock absorbing foams to make the break-in a bit better and to make them a bit softer underfoot. Under that midsole is this gigantic luggy sole they call the Storm King. It's very grippy. It adds a full 1.5 inches to your height. It will take forever and a day to wear down. Again, I've worn these so much more than most of my other boots I reviewed, and unlike the last boots that I was wearing in from Portland leather, which had bits of the sole breaking off in a week or 2 of wearing them, these have held up very well. They've still got a lot of integrity here. Now this boot here, the waxed cacao, is the only Thursday boot with a lug outsole in this tan color. It's a bit divisive. I've seen some guys not like it, but with time I've come to really like it. It adds a slightly modern twist on the heritage look, like just a little bit. I think it works. It's more unique than having like a dark sole anyway. But again, you might not like this color of the sole. Sizing and fit. Thursday updated the last not long ago. I did a video on it up here. My sneaker size is usually 11.5, sometimes a 12, and I got an 11 in the Hero boots. Initially, I tried an 11.5, but it was too big. If you have other Thursday boots, you will have noticed what I already said, which is that the toe box is rounder and more classic casual than the Captain boot. It's even got a slight toe bump. The Captain is made on the Kingmaker last, a last being the foot-shaped mold a boot is built around that determines the fit. The last on the Hero is not that, it's the same as their Explorer boot, and they call this the Challenger last. So I got the last measurements off Thursday, and what's surprising is despite everything I said, the narrowest point of the Challenger last is like 1 to 2mm more narrow than the Kingmaker last for the Captain, which is why you get this more of this kind of curvature effect from the midfoot to the toe. Anyway, I just got the same size in both of those boots. Just get your normal Thursday boot size, go a half size down from your sneaker size. You should be fine in just about, I think, any Thursday boot, but definitely the case for the Captain and for the Hero boot here. Pretty soon, if not right now when you're watching this, probably right now when you're watching this, they're gonna have the wider widths. Otherwise, right now, in the normal widths, they go from size 6 to 16, which is a much wider range of sizes than you normally get from a boot company. And they do half sizes for most of those, which is good. Like I said, there are 2 boots on this last. One is the Explorer boot, which is expensive by Thursday standards at 249 bucks. But the Hero, they managed to get to 199 bucks, the same price as their Captain. Thursday's value is truly obscene. Some guys might not like the aesthetic of a Thursday boot, or they might prefer more layers of leather in the construction, but no one can dispute that they offer the best value in the game. It's not even close for a resolable boot. And it's way better value definitely than the Dr Martens or Timberlands that they're maybe competing with because those boots can't be resoled. Don't let people say you can resole a Dr Marten, by the way. Basically no cobbler will do it because the sole is literally melted onto the rest of the boot. But resolability aside, this sole is so goddamn tall, like you probably won't ever need to anyway. This is not the official line from Thursday, but I really see it as their answer to your boot guys' boots, like the waxed flesh boots that you see in more Pacific Northwest sorts of brands. Boots that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars more. I'm not saying these are made exactly the same as those, but I think that's what they're going for with this one. So I think like each of the 3 leathers, this is like an answer to different sort of spaces in the boot market, you know? Waxed flesh is a real boot guys kind of leather. I'm glad they came up with that kind of more heritagey version of this boot with that leather. It's a good balance of stiff and comfortable. And while the nubuck versions, those are more modern and more streetwear friendly. So a lot of guys are going to prefer those for more, you know, more more guys who walk around in Manhattan. It's very water resistant with a storm welt, very grippy with the sole, very shock absorbent, a little bit more sneaker-like than most boots with the 2 kinds of shock absorbing foam. For 200 bucks, it's a really, really solid price for a solid knock-around kind of casual boot that will definitely appeal to guys who saw Thursday's better known boots and thought, nah, they aren't quite booty enough for me. Like not quite rugged or chunky enough for what I would want from a boot. So it's good. This is a really good Thursday boot for someone who doesn't love Thursday boots, if you know what I mean. Like the Captains are really good boots for taper jeans, but yeah, if you want like looser pants, this is also a good boot for you. The cons of the Hero boot. For a taller boot, I might have preferred speed hooks up here just to make getting the boots on a bit speedier. Although, like I think I mentioned this before, the lack of speed hooks makes them a little more Doc Martens-y, a bit more of a direct attack at that boot, which might have been their goal, maybe it wasn't. They're easy to swap out though if that bugs you, it'll cost nothing. The tongue slides, which is a shame on my left boot, sometimes the right one. At the end of a long walk, the tongue is sitting to the left. A gusseted tongue would have stopped that and also made the boot more water resistant, which is, I guess, another con. If the tongue slide happens to you, that kind of stuff doesn't happen to everyone. Like some people will have the same boot and some will have tongue slide and some won't. I feel like maybe my skinny ankles something to do with it. I have unusually skinny ankles, but in any case, if you get the tongue slide thing and it really bugs you, you have some options. You can like cut a couple of holes into the tongue and run the laces underneath that. That tends to stop that. You can also attach some leather on top of it, run the laces underneath that if you want to. I just can't complain that much about it given the price of this boot. Similarly, like this sounds stupid, but this is not a $500 boot. So some guys like from more Pacific Northwesty sort of brands that the Hero boot is a little evocative of. If they were $500, they would have the outsole sewn onto it instead of cemented to the midsole like this, or it would have 2 or 3 or 4 layers of vegetable tan leather in the sole construction instead of the one midsole of vegetable tan leather with the foam. But that addition would make the boot harder to break in and heavier and less shock absorbent, and again, would definitely increase the price and probably alienate the average consumer as well. Because there are boot guys who get really into expensive footwear, and I've got a lot of really expensive boots, and they convince themselves that those construction touches I just mentioned, like, you know, all the extra leather and sewn on outsole and everything, they convince themselves that that's the end all and be all of all boots. But the average person doesn't know what a welt is and just wants something that will last a long time, absorb shock, not give them blisters, and not cost half their paycheck or more than half their paycheck, right? That's it. That's Thursday Boot Company. That's the Hero boot. Pretty cool boots. I like them. What do you reckon? Let me know in the comments what you think of this boot, which leather you would get, or if you've already got it. And if there are any pros and cons that I might have missed. But yeah, it's just for 199 bucks. I gotta end this video. Bye everybody. Subscribe for more videos on casual stuff that lasts a long time. I'll see you in the next one.